Hello, and welcome to the Care Machine podcast. I'm Professor Helen Meese, and I'll be hosting this monthly dive into the world of healthcare technology and medical innovation. Please take a moment to like and subscribe to stay up to date with this monthly news roundup and our sustainable healthcare episode every second Thursday. Well, September has been absolutely fascinating in the world of medtech, and I have to say there's been a real buzz in the air as we head into autumn. We're seeing some really interesting tensions emerging, and I mean that in a good way, between innovation, regulation and real-world implementation. And I promise you that there's something here for everyone, whether you're a spin-out founder looking for funding opportunities, a clinician wondering when the next breakthrough will reach your patients, or a policy enthusiast who gets genuinely excited about regulatory amendments, a little bit like me. So what are we covering today? Well, we've got UK MedTech startups calling for serious reform, and they're not mincing their words. We'll look at some of the genuinely exciting partnerships that are starting to move the needle on NHS innovation. There's regulatory news from MHRA that's quite significant, and we'll venture across to Europe and Asia and see what's happening in the wider world of medical technology. So grab a coffee, settle in, and let's dive into this healthcare technology news brief with the Care Machine. The 18th of September saw the Centre for Process Innovation, CPI, release 3 comprehensive research reports exposing the systematic barriers holding back UK medtech startups and spin-outs. Now, this isn't anecdotal frustration. This is hard data from some 240 SMEs, 100 investors and 10 university technology transfer officers. The report paints a sobering picture. UK medtech innovators say current NHS priorities and regulatory structures are actively discouraging investors. We have some brilliant innovations developing in the UK that could genuinely improve patient outcomes, but they often get stuck in limbo. The delays aren't just frustrating, they're potentially costing lives and economic opportunity. And here's the paradox. The NHS 10-year plan and Life Sciences Sector Plan both emphasise medical technology's critical importance, yet the system makes it incredibly difficult for innovators to get through the door. CPI's research identifies 3 major bottlenecks. First, regulation. The MHRA is under-resourced and difficult to navigate. SMEs want a freemium advice service, free basic guidance with paid in-depth support to accelerate market access before falling further behind potential competitors. Second, funding. Startups consistently secure early-stage investment, but hit a wall at Series B funding rounds and beyond, frequently forcing them overseas. CPI recommends increasing Seed Enterprise Investment Scheme and EIS funding, boosting R&D tax relief for UK clinical trials, and increasing government co-investment for medtech. Third, NHS adoption. Rahul Kapoor, CPI's Director of Health Tech, says achieving the 10-year plan requires rapid development funding and reduced adoption barriers. But NHS procurement remains fragmented, with no clear mechanism showing what is actually needed. CPI proposed an NHS priority and clinical register, publishing unmet needs and procurement intentions. Dr. Alex Cole at CPI calls this the paradigm shift we need. I see this as a systems problem requiring real systems thinking, and the UK undoubtedly has the talent and ideas to address this. What we need now is joined-up action from policymakers, NHS leaders, investors, and universities engaging with these reports. The roadmap exists now, we just need to follow it. But there is some good news. We are seeing excellent solutions to these kind of challenges emerge. For example, on the 9th of September, Manchester University NHS Foundation Trust announced a groundbreaking partnership with Medtronic, one of the world's largest medical technology companies. This isn't just another memorandum of understanding. This is a UK-first research, development and innovation collaboration agreement with real teeth. The agreement focuses on co-developing health technology solutions in 4 key clinical areas: cardiovascular, neuroscience, medical surgery and diabetes, with particular emphasis on robotic surgery and artificial intelligence. Dr. Catherine Boylan, MFT's Deputy Managing Director of Research and Innovation, said this capitalises on their existing strong commercial relationship with Medtronic. The partnership leverages MFT's Clinical Data Science Unit, which uses a state-of-the-art, trusted research environment to safely transform anonymised clinical data, a critical source of information for developing effective AI solutions. What gives this partnership credibility is a decade of proven collaboration. MFT and Medtronic have already delivered improved outcomes through pilot schemes like Triage HP+, a remote heart monitoring pathway that dramatically reduces heart failure hospitalisation, and one which NICE officially recommended for NHS adoption in 2024. Manchester is positioning itself at the forefront of the UK's £120 billion life sciences market, which the UK government hopes will establish Britain as a global life sciences superpower. This partnership works because it builds on proven success, has infrastructure in place, and addresses unmet clinical needs globally. The question for other NHS trusts and medtech companies is, what's stopping you from replicating this model? The roadmap and evidence are here. Now it's about scale up. And speaking of things working, here's some good news that deserves celebration. In September, the government announced that NHS productivity increased by 2.4% between 2024 and 25, exceeding the annual target set out in the 10-year health plan. The Health Innovation Network's 24-25 Impact Report shows exactly how. Their programmes benefited 1 million patients last year, triggered 129 potentially life-saving interventions through the Martha's Rule, and may have saved up to 884 lives through their medicine safety improvement programmes. And over 700,000 patients are now benefiting from improved blood pressure optimisation. But where it really hits home is workforce efficiency. Since 2020, these initiatives have released 340,000 hours of healthcare staff capacity. That's time clinicians can spend with patients rather than on administrative tasks. Take Tortoise, for example, the AI-powered clinical scribing tool. Trials showed clinicians could spend nearly 25% more time with patients and cut A&E documentation by over half. When rolled out nationally, it could free up the equivalent of more than 2,000 full-time GPs. This demonstrates something critical. When innovation gets through and is implemented properly, it really works. We're seeing measurable improvements in productivity, patient outcomes, and workforce capacity. The question is, how can we scale these successes faster across the entire NHS? And this productivity story leads us perfectly into the regulatory changes that are helping to unlock innovation. On the 26th of September, the UK National Commission on the Regulation of AI in Healthcare was launched. Lawrence Tallant, Chief Executive of the MHRA, made it crystal clear in the AI in Health Summit on the 1st of October, quoting, "We cannot afford to wait years for this. AI in healthcare isn't just about fancy algorithms. It's about pattern recognition, diagnostic support, and workflow optimization. All things that can genuinely transform how healthcare is delivered." But current medical device regulations were, as Talon put it, largely written before the year of AI. They need modernising for this new era. The Commission, chaired by Professor Alistair Denniston, and deputy chaired by Patient Safety Commissioner Professor Henrietta Hughes, will advise the MHRA on rewriting the regulatory rulebook. But crucially, they are not waiting. They are planning to immediately review technologies currently held back by regulatory uncertainty, particularly ambient voice technology for clinical note-taking. Denniston emphasised that the Commission is looking at the system holistically. He said, AI technologies are complex interventions. They disrupt the whole pathway. We need to look system-wide at the changes we need to make. The scope is envisaged to take up to 1 year, with outputs provided iteratively throughout the process. Talent addressed fears about over-regulation driving innovators abroad, saying, "We don't need over-regulation, but nor do we need deregulation that puts patients at risk. The one thing that I guarantee will slow innovation is if we lose patient and public trust and confidence." As I see it, this Commission is creating a structured approach to implementation at pace. So if we want to get innovation at scale, as Talon says, we need regulation that is responsive to AI, but also responsible. Now, here's something that might sound a little dry, but it's actually an imperative to modernising regulation. On the 10th of September, Joseph Burt, the MHRA's head of diagnostics, published a blog entitled "Working Together to Advance Safety, Access and Innovation." That title says everything about the MHRA's new approach. It's not just about updating regulations. The MHRA are fundamentally rethinking how to regulate in an age of rapid innovation. And crucially, they're doing this with industry, not to industry. The MHRA is actively seeking stakeholder feedback through surveys and engagement sessions. Bert's blog says, quote, "We want to hear from you about what's working well and what we can improve." At present, they're preparing an in vitro diagnostic roadmap, giving manufacturers a clear timeline, updating their designated standards list to reflect current technology, and being transparent throughout this process. But it's not just talk. In July 2025, the MHRA published significant changes. First, international reliance routes. The MHRA will recognise approvals from Australia, Canada, the EU and the US. So if your product is already approved elsewhere, you're getting a faster UK pathway through evidence-based regulation. Second, removing physical UKCA marking once the unique device identification system launches. Manufacturers will assign a UDI and register it in the UK database, providing smarter, more traceable, less administrative burdens, and better post-market surveillance. Third, risk proportionate conformity assessments for IVDs. Not all diagnostic devices carry the same risk, so the MHRA is introducing tiered regulatory scrutiny matching actual hazard probabilities. Medical device regulations ensure devices are safe, effective and fit for purpose, but it can slow innovation if poorly designed. The MHRA is saying, through this action, that you don't need to choose between safety and innovation. You need smarter, adaptive regulation with international cooperation and genuine industry partnership. I'd say that for industry, this is an actual opportunity to co-create regulation that enables innovation while protecting patients. If this is something you would like to participate in, the MHRA wants to hear from you. Details in the episode notes below. And here's another piece of infrastructure being put in place. On the 17th of September, King's College London's London Institute for Healthcare Engineering, the LIHE, launched its MedTech Venture Kickstarter programme. This is being delivered on behalf of the Health Innovation Network South London, funded through Innovate UK's Biomedical Catalyst. Across the healthcare technology sector, we see this challenge repeatedly. Brilliant researchers with potentially transformative technologies who need guidance on navigating regulatory approval, NHS procurement, or commercial scale-up. Now, why does this matter? Well, accelerators are primed to address this need, providing structured support, mentorship, connections, and pathways to market. which all help to get innovations from lab to bedside. LIHE opened its doors in 2024 and has already cultivated a thriving ecosystem, bringing together scientific, regulatory and commercialisation expertise in purpose-built spaces. The 4-month programme, beginning in November this year, will help UK-based companies de-risk and stress test their ventures, providing a roadmap for commercialisation, translation and adoption. What's particularly effective is this tri-party partnership model. You've got academic excellence from King's, strategic support from HIN and government backing through Innovate UK. That's the kind of ecosystem approach that really works. Whilst these ecosystems are developing in the UK, let's zoom out and look what's happening globally. Here's 4 quick snapshots from around the world. Let's start with something groundbreaking happening in Europe. In September, a landmark series published in The Lancet by 40 leading Alzheimer's experts, including UCL's Professor Nick Fox, declared we are entering a new era in Alzheimer's treatment. New antibody medications like lecanemab and donanemab can slow disease progression. But here's the challenge. Despite this breakthrough, high costs, complex testing requirements and under-resourced healthcare systems risk leaving patients behind. The experts are calling for urgent healthcare reform, policy changes and shifts in societal attitude to match the pace of scientific advancement. Finally, there's hope for dementia sufferers, but only if systems adapt quickly. This clinical breakthrough reminds us why diagnostic infrastructure matters, which brings me to AI in pathology. In September, Procea, a leading pathology AI company, integrated its Concentric platform with AWS healthcare imaging to tackle a critical challenge in modern diagnostics, the explosive growth of digital pathology data. Think about this for a moment. When pathologists examine tissue samples under a microscope, those images are now digitised at incredibly high resolution. A single slide can generate gigabytes of data, and hospitals produce thousands of these daily. The challenge isn't just storage, it's making that data accessible instantly, analysable by AI, and shareable across institutions. Procea's cloud-based solution does exactly that. Pathologists can receive images in under a second. AI algorithms can analyse patterns in real time, and data silos that previously prevented collaboration are eliminated. The broader picture is striking. The global AI in pathology market is projected to grow from $134 million in 2024 to $1.15 billion in 2033. This growth is driven by demand for precision medicine, rising chronic disease prevalence, and critically, a global shortage of trained pathologists. AI-powered platforms are filling that gap, enabling faster, more accurate diagnosis while reducing the burden of overstretched pathology departments. Now, from AI diagnostics to continuous monitoring, here's something exciting from the digital health world. In early September, Melbourne-based startup Nutromics raised $7.5 million Australian dollars to advance its groundbreaking lab-on-a-patch wearable device. Now, this isn't just another fitness tracker. This is a diagnostic tool capable of continuous real-time molecular monitoring that could reshape personal medicine. The device combines DNA-based sensors with microneedle technology and advanced data analytics, enabling real-time drug monitoring. Nutromics' initial focus is vancomycin, a vital but complex antibiotic with FDA approval targeted for 2028. The company completed its world-first clinical study last year and is now conducting ICU trials, a global first for this class of wearable diagnostics. This technology aligns perfectly with some of the NHS's priorities around remote patient monitoring and community-based care. So we'll wait to see what comes next. And finally, the infrastructure that makes all of this possible: cross-border health data sharing. In September, the HIT Lab published a new roadmap for regional cooperation in health data sharing, which focuses on Asia-Pacific healthcare systems. Here's why this matters. Healthcare challenges don't respect borders. Pandemics don't stop at customs. Rare diseases need data from multiple countries to understand patterns and develop treatments. Clinical research benefits enormously from larger, more diverse datasets, but healthcare data is incredibly sensitive and needs robust protection. The Asia-Pacific region is being forward-thinking about creating frameworks that balance research benefits with privacy protection. As the region experiences explosive healthcare technology growth, establishing trusted, secure data sharing infrastructure now will accelerate innovation across borders whilst maintaining patient trust and regulatory compliance. So there you have it. Clinical breakthroughs in Alzheimer's treatment, AI transforming diagnostic pathology, wearable devices enabling real-time monitoring, and data infrastructure connecting it all across borders. 4 very different stories, but they all point to the same thing. Medical technology innovation is a global, interconnected ecosystem. What happens in Europe, Australia, or Asia Pacific feeds into the broader picture and ultimately benefits patients everywhere. So that's our whistle-stop tour of September's healthcare technology landscape. But before we wrap up, let me tell you about something equally important, where you can actually meet people making this innovation happen. October and early November are absolutely packed with healthcare and medtech events, and I wanted to give you a quick rundown of 6 conferences and expos that are worth your attention. First up, and this is a big one, October 14th to the 16th brings us HET, Healthcare Excellence Through Technology, at Excel London. This is the UK's leading healthcare technology event, and it's massive. We're talking about everything from digital health to biomedical engineering to procurement. If you want a comprehensive view of where UK health technology is heading, HET is where you need to be. On October 16th and 17th, the Healthcare Partnership Network is hosting HPN South 2025 at the Radisson Blu Edwardian Hotel near Heathrow. This is a unique 2-day learning and networking event. It's particularly valuable if you're working on partnership models or collective healthcare solutions. October the 18th sees the International Conference on Sustainability in Hospitals and Healthcare taking place in London. Now, sustainability in healthcare is becoming increasingly critical, from reducing carbon footprints to managing medical waste and energy efficiency. This conference focuses specifically on how hospitals and healthcare facilities can become more sustainable without compromising patient care. Also, on October 17th and 18th in London, we have the International Symposium on Child Neurology. This brings together eminent researchers and experts in paediatric neurology. So if you're developing technologies for paediatric care, neurological monitoring, or diagnostic equipment for children, this is where you'll find the clinical expertise you need to understand real-world applications. Now, let's venture to Asia. From October 20th to the 22nd, Bioprocess International Asia is taking place in Kyoto, Japan. This event focuses on biopharmaceutical manufacturing, cell and gene therapy production, and bioprocessing technologies. Japan is a major player in advanced manufacturing and precision medicine, and this conference has showcased cutting-edge developments in the sector. And finally, looking just ahead to November, from November 12th to the 14th, MedTech Malta returns to Valletta. This is a huge event, drawing over 2,000 industry leaders, 300 plus speakers, and leading investors. It's CPD accredited and offers panel discussions, CEO workshops, and startup pitch competitions. If you're in the medtech startup space or looking to connect with European and global investors, this is absolutely one to mark in your calendar. So there you have it, 6 excellent conferences worth attending throughout October. And if you're attending any of these, I'd love to hear about it. So drop me a message in the chat and let me know what you're seeing, what's exciting you, and what challenges are coming up in conversations. Right, so what have we learned from September? Well, there are productive tensions between innovation and implementation. Startups are feeling frustrated in today's climate, but we are seeing tangible solutions emerging and new opportunities for partnering and regulatory collaboration. Improved NHS productivity and market growth across multiple sectors suggests that despite all the challenges, there's genuine optimism. And organisations aren't waiting for perfect conditions. They're solving problems, building alliances, and making progress in imperfect systems. While I focus predominantly on the UK this month, parallel developments are happening across Europe and Asia, showing that medical technology innovation is an interconnected ecosystem. What happens in Manchester, Copenhagen, or Singapore feeds into the broader picture of healthcare and medicine. So here's my challenge. If you're working in healthcare technology, what barriers could you help remove? If you're in policy or procurement, what processes would you like to streamline? And if you're a clinician, what's the one innovation you could champion? Share your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you're working on. Over the next few months, we'll be seeing how these initiatives develop. Will the AI Commission show results? Will more trusts follow Manchester's partnership model? Follow the Care Machine podcast to keep up to date on these and other stories. I'm Helen Meese. This has been the Care Machine podcast, and I'll see you next month.